Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch video here today talking about what characters have the lowest win percentage across all tiers in the game. Try to make sense of it across why they might be disparities between different tiers, whether it becomes maybe the character is just weak, and other factors that come into it, what they synergize with, what they synergize against, what's good right now, as well as the pick rate, because obviously that comes into play as well, of course, when it comes to the numbers and switching. So we'll start off with damage, and as you can see, I am playing Cassidy, and that is for a reason. Cassidy, overall, has the lowest win percentage across the board for damage at a 45.33% win rate. And I'm going to be talking solely on PC numbers here because that's the platform that majority of people play. There's, obviously going to be differences between console and PC. Those differences are going to be less and less the higher in tier you go, because in both console and on PC, in top 500, 240 something or 290 something of those players are all on keyboard and mouse. So those games are going to play pretty much the same. So Cassidy has the lowest win rate across the board. He is bottom of the barrel in Diamond, Master, and Grandmaster. But from Bronze to Plat, the lowest win rate is Sojourn. And in Diamond, Master, and Grandmaster, Sojourn is third worst, fourth worst, and fifth worst in order from Diamond to Grandmaster. So Sojourn has the second lowest win rate across the board at a 45.9%. And just as a bit of comparison, the highest winning percentage across the board is Symmetra at 52.03. So that's your ceiling is 52 and your basement is 45% on the Cassidy. So Sojourn makes sense. To get the most value out of her kit, you have to get the railgun headshots at their full charge, or using the ultimate, and that can be hard to do. And the best players are going to be ones that hit those, and that's why in Grandmasters is the only rank where Sojourn is not in the bottom 3 of win rate. So that makes complete sense. And Cassidy also makes sense why he is at the bottom of the barrel when it comes overall, as well as the top 3 tiers of the game, because he's strictly mostly just a revolver. He did get that buff to his role, which I don't think was necessary, but now he can not only live a Tracer bomb being stuck against him, which kind of feels unfair since everything's amazing against Tracer and she's not good against anything right now. And yeah, she has a very, very low win rate at 47.47%, which is good for 7th worst in the entire game. But that is just overall. And most ranks, she's going to be the 4th or 5th worst in the entire game. And I think a lot of that, of course, has to reflect in the meta, like I mentioned in previous videos. But Cassidy, he's just a revolver, right? His grenade is no longer like a free, cheap insta-kill because it doesn't travel nearly as far or as long of time, and it doesn't do as much damage. It's still useful and it's nice. It deletes Tracer from the game as if she needed something else that was strong against her. It can stop a Sombra. We're seeing a lot more of those, obviously, and I will get to that here in just a little bit because she is obviously a unique case. And I also like playing Cassidy against Doomfist because he's going to block and then try to get away and then get healed up, but he's not going to be able to get away when he's hacked via my grenade. So he has its uses, and he can't. I do have some success with him, but it makes complete sense why he has the lowest win rate across the board in the entire game and is in the bottom 2 in all but 1 rank, I do believe. So that makes complete sense. I don't think there needs to be buffs to his kit. He's a simple man. If you're going to be good with him, things are going to be great. His ult obviously is going to be underwhelming when you compare it to Soldier or Genji or Bastion, characters that have really high pick rates that are more simple to play, more consistent at the very least. Genji has a really good win rate, 3rd best in the entire game. He's incredible right now. I don't know why nobody's talking about it, but I mentioned it in my last video. Genji is definitely one of the best DPS in the game right now, holding at 51.08%. Sombra is in the bottom 3 win percents in most ranks, and that I think that obviously has to do with her rework. I think that definitely skews her her numbers here, because her pick rate is super duper high right now. It's 3.33% over the last month, and I am only using data from the last month, so you know the earliest data that we have that has been compiled, you know, obviously since she was reworked, of course. And so people are picking her more, people that didn't play her, and obviously people that did play her that are trying to get used to it. So there's going to be growing pains, and you know, anytime a new character comes out or a character gets reworked or buffed, the pick rate's going to go up, so the win rate is going to go down, because you're going to have a lot of inexperience there, and you know, as time goes on, that will level out. So I would assume Sombra's win rate will no longer be in the bottom 3 a month or a month and a half from now, when less of the people not having success with her have had enough time trying to figure her out and see if they work for her, and then they give up on her, and the people that are good with her and want to stick with her are going to get better with her. So her win rate is going to go up for those 2 reasons. And so, you know, I think that'll level itself out right now. So her numbers are kind of hard to gauge right now because of the pick rate. Widowmaker, I think her pick rate might skew her numbers a bit as well, because she has an insanely low pick rate, one of the lowest in the entire game at 1.99% pick rate. Makes perfect sense why her pick rate would be low and her win rate would be low, but obviously I think the low pick rate factors into that, because if you are bad at Widowmaker and you stay on her, you're going to really hurt her numbers. And if you're good on Widowmaker and you get countered quickly because they switch up to something that's not weak against her, or she gets dove on, super try to counter, you know, with a tank and a DPS going in or something like that, then they're going to switch off of her and then not help her win rate, right? So, you know, only that small amount of data from when they was first picked and then switched to is going to be logged as well. So, you know, the higher the pick rate can skew things, and the lower pick rate can also skew things when it comes to switching off. Going over to the support side of things, you might be able to guess who has the lowest win rate in the entire game, because again, I am showcasing them here. It is Zenyatta at 46.3% win rate. At silver, the lowest in order is Bap Kiriko Zen. At gold, it is Bap Kiriko Ana. At plat, it is Bap Kiriko Zen. Diamond, Zen Bap Kiriko. Master, Kiriko Zen Moira. And Grandmaster, Zen Kiriko Moira. And I think, again, this makes sense. Obviously, Zen has a really low pick rate, by far the lowest pick rate in the entire game when it comes to supports. He's just easily killed by things that are strong, and a lot of people are playing Sombra right now, regardless if they're good at her or not. Zens are going to be easy kills for even the uninitiated Sombra players. So Zen, he hasn't been meta for more than a couple days in the entire lifetime of Overwatch 2. He's just he doesn't have big heal numbers, and the lower and lower rank you go, the more people want heal bots, the more people can benefit from heal botting, the better Reinhardt is going to be with his big shield. He has his highest win rate the lower that you go, and even as you go high, it's not that bad. But focusing on the supports, Zen, his ultimate is outclassed by quite a few, although it is not terrible, can be situational. Is hurt more by, say, an Ana nade than Lifeweaver's ultimate, because the tree might be able to block some of it, as well as the fact that it's just going to be cover. If it doesn't block the grenade, it'll at least provide some cover, but on the opposite side of that, it can be destroyed, whereas Transcendence from Zen cannot be. And if you've ever seen a Bastion shoot at that tree, you know just how very little health it seems like it can have. But Zen, again, like Cassidy, pure skill shot. That is the vast majority of his kit. People will always complain about Discord Orb no matter what, and it was nerfed to where it can really, really be felt at all levels of the game, both on PC and console, and you're just not going to see very much of him. Thankfully, the enemy team here was playing Roadhog, so didn't really matter what I picked. I was going to win because, again, lowest win rate in the game outside of Grandmasters, where if you double pocket Roadhog, he can actually be pretty good. But outside of that, he is super duper hot trash, and I feel like you should kind of like just be soft banned for picking Roadhog, because he's just like, why would you play him? You're just only going to lose. The past 2 seasons, I have 0 wins with a Roadhog on my team, and if we go 3 seasons, I have exactly 1 win with a Roadhog on my team. So Zen, not very good. The nerf obviously hurt him. His win rate and pick rate wasn't even good before this nerf, so you can say maybe it wasn't warranted, but people will always complain about Discord Orb. People will always complain about one-shot headshots from at the very least, it's for Hanzo and Widowmaker. People don't seem to have a problem when Mei can do it, or Ashe, whether they're being pocketed or not against, a Tracer. It doesn't really matter. I think 19 things in the game can one-shot her because she's just super duper weak. And then Kiriko also makes sense because she is even more of a skill shot than Zen. Zen, you can kind of more spam without care, especially with the Discord Orb. If you're hitting a shield, you're doing more damage against a discorded target on their shield. Not a lot of people do know that, and I don't know if that was always consistent with every single build. It might not have been. Yeah, Kiriko, her healing output is pretty bad. If we take a look at healing per minute, it is only higher than Lucio, Iari, and Zenyatta. But Zenyatta and Iari are doing so much damage, and Lucio's ultimate and speed boost kind of make up for that. So while Kiriko, a lot of people don't like Kitsune Rest because it's super duper strong, it did get nerfed, I think, a couple of times. And before, when it first came out, it did seem like the best ultimate in the game, and now it doesn't, I think, even compete for top 5, maybe not even top 10 for ultimates. Maybe it's just because what is good right now, but you don't seem to get a lot of value from it. Her healing is not good at long range, and at mid range, it's going to be very, very slow. With a lot of nerfs that they gave her over the time, and they gave her a lot of those nerfs when Roadhog was the best tank in the game. And as we all know, that has not been the case for a very, very long time. Play the game, by the way. Yeehaw. So yeah, Kiriko makes sense. She's even harder to play than Zen. I think she is the hardest support to play in the game. Her support ultimate can be very good. Multifaceted. It's not just like pure damage. It's not pure healing. And it's not pure movement. It's just a little bit of everything, and that can be great. But she is getting out damaged by everything but Life Weaver and Mercy. So she does the 3rd least amount of damage. Yeah, it's nice to get the double doink like we're, a bad kicker in the NFL, and 2-shot headshot is squishy. That feels great. But those are going to be so few and far in between, and you're going to have to hit him consecutively. Otherwise, it's getting healed, and that double doink is going to need a 3rd doink in order to get that elimination to go through. So Kiriko, I think, might actually be in need of some, not buffs per se, but unnerfs at the very least. And Zen possibly as well, because just the win rate shows across every single level, across PC and console, just not very good when it comes to the healing, the ultimate, the damage, the whole package, not very good, and super duper diveable, right? And then Moira. Moira also ends up in the bottom 3 at most levels, especially on PC. But on console, she is also in the bottom 3 quite often. Is actually the worst in the top 3 levels of the game. Master, Grandmaster, and Diamond. She actually has the lowest. So that's also actually consistent across both PC and console. And Moira does make sense. She has one of, I think, the better ultimates, especially when we're in such a battle of attrition kind of play style with tanks living so long when they're getting double pocketed, and Bastion just absolutely wiping things out that require big damage in short bursts or a ton of healing to sustain, as well as any character that doesn't have 2 ways of mitigating damage is just fairly weak right now, and we will get to tanks in a bit. But Moira, I think, does have her uses, but I don't feel like she's in need of buffs or nerfs at this point. Just like I don't think Cassidy needs a big change right now. Not that I felt like he needed the buff to his role, but yeah, there's always going to be a character in last place, right? And those numbers will always be looked at by the team when it comes to a variety of use cases here. And obviously the quote unquote meta, not necessarily meta, that only is going to matter in the top 0.2% of games, but what is popular and what is highly picked is going to play into things a lot more so than possibly what a kit might be. Some characters might be good in one meta and really bad in another quote-unquote meta, or at least, what is popular without any changes to their kit, right? But there are some characters that are consistently bad forever and ever. And yes, I am switching over to the tank role where we are talking about Roadhog. Absolute garbage. Don't play him. But Winston, if it's not Roadhog, who has the lowest win rate at every single level of the game, bronze to masters, Winston is second worst in all of those, I believe, across PC and console. There's just they switch in Grandmaster where Roadhog has a higher win percentage than Winston. So like Winston, right? A character that you never ever see. He's got the lowest pick rate out of all the tanks at, let me get this, 1.16%. Junker Queen's actually picked less. I believe that might change in this next season, but I can sort of see why, because she is newer. So you're not going to have as nearly as many mains for that reason. But Junker Queen obviously isn't super duper amazing right now. A lot of people feel like she is pretty good, and I would say that she is niche from masters and below. Very, very not consistent. And same with Diva. But Winston, the character that you only really see in Overwatch League, right? So where you're like, oh, he's really good in Overwatch League. So like that's where he finds his place. So he's probably also picked a lot in top 500. Nope, he is not. In Grandmasters, he has the lowest pick rate in the entire game, even less so than Junker Queen. So even where people can get value out of Winston, you still are not going to see him because he is that weak. Obviously, every tank is hurting right now that can't deal with Bastion, aka every single tank. There's not a single tank that's good against Bastion. There's not a single good support that's good against Bastion. And honestly, there's not a single DPS that is good against Bastion. Bastion is just the best character in the game, and even top 500 players do agree with that assessment. Super duper broken, didn't need any of those 36 buffs that he got, and not even all of them have been reverted yet. So we're still, of course, always living in Bastion's world. But Winston, super duper countered by Bastion. Winston, super duper countered by Reaper. And Reaper is not difficult to play, and Reaper is not a high risk. Reaper is not an easy big target like a Bastion could be if you're just trying to like everybody jump on the Bastion after he gets out of his configuration form. You're not going to have that with Reaper because he's going to wraith away. He doesn't care about getting hacked. He doesn't care about getting antied. Reaper just doesn't care. He's going to shoot Winston in the face and just win that matchup every single time, right? So Winston is just in a bad place, and I believe will always be in a bad place. He's fun to play, and I love having a good Winston on my team. It's the most fun and dominating wins that I have, at least when I play support, and I get to play Ana and I nano boost him, and it's a lot of fun. They follow up on my antis. It's great. But he has the lowest, one of the lowest pick rates in the entire game, and the second lowest win rate, and probably will be the lowest win rate after the Roadhog rework, because the rework isn't going to make Roadhog worse, right? It can't. It shouldn't. And I promise you, it can't. I don't know what his rework going to be, but they've said they're changing absolutely everything about his kit, and they are giving him a brand new ability. So Roadhog being the worst probably will change. Winston being in the bottom 2 or worst will, I think, consistently be a thing, and it makes sense. He's low damage, big target, only has one mobility move. His shield got nerfed 4 seasons ago, and has been really, really hurting ever since, and wasn't actually succeeding even with it. But of course, what is good right now does not help the situation very much at all. And Zarya and Orisa actually also have low win rates across the board on every level on PC and console, but also really high pick rates. And people might be switching to them and off of them a lot. So I'm not really sure what to say about that. But Orisa is third worst in pretty much every single rank, and Zarya sneaks in there as the third worst a few times as well across every single tier on PC and console, because more people are going to be picking them, whereas some people that would be specializing in Reinhardt, specializing in Doomfist. Ramattra is really good and got a buff and isn't picked nearly as much as those others. And D.Va is pretty weak outside of Grandmaster's PC. Her pick rate is a lot higher than I would have guessed, but her win rate is not great. It is definitely not great in a few tiers, to where I think maybe we should do some unnerfs with her as well. But we got to help the bottom of the barrel a bit more so before we start looking at helping characters that are good in a niche spot when it comes to tank, support, and damage. So let me know what you guys think about why these characters are where they are. Do they deserve buffs, nerfs, or should some of them just stay where they are? Because at the end of the day, someone's got to be at the bottom. But right now, these are them: Cassidy, Zenyatta, Roadhog / Winston.